Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we have The Princess. So, for those of you just tuning in, CreepyPasta are scary stories, usually pretty short.
Hold on, I got this.
What?
Google CreepyPasta.
Alright, fine. You heard it from the doctor. That's his diagnosis.
Take 2 Googles and call me in the morning.
Right. The Princess is a creepypasta, but it's a creepypasta done over on a vlog. Or, sorry, not a vlog, a blog. And it spanned from 2011 to 2013 over 13 entries. It was done by Rocketlex. The blog is ifyouseeherturnoffthegame.blogspot.ca. So, if you'd like, go check it out now and doom yourself. We'll wait. All right.
Well, we're gonna doom them anyway, even if...
Yeah, and we'll get into that. If you aren't reading it and just want to listen to us ramble on for half an hour, go on. So, the narrator starts off the entries with saying that by telling you this, he's risking your life. However, reading this could also save your life. So, and the reason why it's so long and not just a warning is because he wants to help give context to the warning he's doing. So, that's how he kind of opens this up. And then he goes into a story of when he was 13, he was playing Ocarina of Time, and he encountered a weird NPC in the game that was incomplete. She had red hair, white dress, but her face was blank. It had didn't have textures or anything to it. And it was in that default Model T pose that game designers usually have their models before they add a skeleton to it. And there was just something really creepy about her, because she was never in any of the game before. But the guy kept going and went on his day and played the game, and then the game eventually just kind of spiraled into glitchy death until the guy got too freaked out and turned off the console. And then told all his friends about it and his family and stuff. No one believed him, of course, so he let it all drop and just kind of went on his normal life. 9 years later, he gets contacted by a group called the Princess Society, who are apparently...
I've got to tell you, it sounds like a very vague group.
I know. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was thinking that too.
I mean...
Nothing wrong with it, but just, for a horror story...
But you would think that... this society existed before or around the time that that the narrator had their first experience, right?
Yeah.
So, approximately 9 years. You think someone would have said, hey, maybe we could go with something a little more, I don't know,
a little bit more
cool sounding?
A little bit more edgy? I don't know.
Yeah, just something a little more interesting, or, in the nature of the group, a little less interesting.
Yeah.
Just, completely off the ball. Or,
Yeah. But yeah, so they've all seen, it's a bunch of gamers, essentially, who have seen the princess, and have decided to get together and research her. And then they kind of find out early on that, she kills players. So they've also been set up, they have another mission in that they're trying to stop her. They're trying to figure out what she is and trying to stop her from that. So the next couple of entries kind of follow, and it's pretty much just stories from other members that he's kind of recalling. One in Pokemon Blue and one in some racing game for the N64.
That's one of the big things, is the princess isn't
relegated
to... Well, she's not relegated to Ocarina of Time. She can appear in any game.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was really interesting for this game, and kind of creepy.
And that fact is what saved your ass.
I know. I'm not gonna lie. When I had this,
I was like, Ocarina of Time. I was like, you've got to be.
Yeah.
He did not just do this to me.
This is not gonna be another bed round, you asshole.
I better just stop reading now. And then I continued reading because I have obligations.
Yes. But yeah, apparently this entity, the princess, has the ability to go from any system, any console, any platform, any game. Pretty much.
She shows up in emulators.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she shows up in the Pokemon Blue.
Just to
emulator.
show, I don't know. For me, that was an expression of just like how unrestricted she is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I mean, well, yeah, it's an emulator. It's not a console.
Exactly.
It's not
and then the next, so there's that, and then they go into another entry that has to do with the rules that the Princess Society has come up with, which the guy also states are probably the best and the worst of the society in that it made them feel safe from this entity,
which they never were.
They've never were. It's just like it created a false safety blanket. And I'm not going to go into detail on them. Essentially, it boils down to if you see her, turn off the game. And then it goes into details about an experiment that two of the members who happen to live in the same town did to make contact with the princess, and it really didn't go well. Essentially, the two members, who I believe they'd call it Adam and Brian, spend several hours playing multiple N64 games, like just a marathon of them, and for 15 minutes apiece, and until they were going to find something strange.
My favorite was the entry on F-Zero,
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, it'd be kind of difficult for her to manifest. That was a humorous touch that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I was like, I love the fact that they put it in, though.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah.
It was laughable.
Exactly.
It was humorous.
Also, I think he even comments like, was it Snowboard Kids 2 or something like that? Oh, note, sweet game. And then they go back to it later on. But anyway, eventually, they're getting frustrated because they haven't found her yet. So they eventually get down to the bottom of the pile, which Brian was dreading because he didn't really want to play it, was Ocarina of Time, which seems to be her favored game because it is the game that she's appeared most in. So they start playing it, and sure enough, within 20 minutes, they find her. And then at this point, the Adam, the guy who's been playing, gets really kind of obsessive with fighting the princess. And they do start fighting her in this weird boss arena thing. And it's a whole entry of just how the fight went. And it's pretty interesting, but at the same time, it's kind of eh. And eventually, Brian can't take it anymore. Tries to turn off the console, but both the princess and Adam essentially stop him by just glaring him down, and Adam's threatening him with a knife that he's kept for this experiment. It also is noted that Adam may have had anger issues, and that's why he was so vicious when he was playing the game. Eventually, Brian gets freaked out, grabs all what games he has or he can, and just kind of leaves Adam to his own devices. And then shortly after, Adam is found dead. And in fact, the investigators found that his body was bludgeoned to death, pretty much he's bludgeoned all over, except for his face. And his knife, though only his DNA was on it, looked like it was dulled and just horribly bent up on the tip, so as if he was hammering at a very hard thing. So yeah, the society kind of blows up at that point in terms of hysterics, and are trying to find any other sources of information about the princess, any other stories, and they come across the next story that we get to read, which is about a young girl and her older sister, who encounter the princess in Banjo-Kazooie, and the young girl is kind of like one of those horror, those ghost stories where the girl befriends the ghost, and then it turns out the ghost is evil, and so again, another story that just kind of ends in a poorly, ends a very similar fate to Adam for the little girl. And then the next section is essentially details about how they found somebody who was actually worked on a game called Hero and Princess, who we kind of get a little bit of a backstory or the origin story of the princess. She was apparently she was a character in this doomed video game that was in development hell, and essentially it seems like she is just this entity that has manifested from that failed character in that failed game, and just causes all sorts of glitches and stuff around other video games because she has no other place to go. And then the guy that was telling them this story happens to be a beta tester, one of the main beta testers for that game, and has spent decade seeking out weaknesses of her because he's become obsessed with like hunting her down and stopping her. And he proposes a plan to trap her because he has her trapped in his GameCube. And
because he finds out that she can only appear in one game at a time.
Yeah, so he can't. Yeah, she
that's
does
how
have.
She's trapped.
She does have a limit to what she
He found her. Like, she manifested in his game, and then he
turned
left
off
the GameCube running and turned off his TV.
Yeah, and that seems to have trapped her. So what he proposes is that the society jumps on a live stream on showing his house, where he's going to combat the princess, and then if anything happens, they can call 911 and get them over there. So at least somebody will, like, the world will know, or somebody will know that the existence of this princess, that they'll have evidence or something. But sure enough, it goes badly, and it actually gets down to the point where their forum gets infected by the princess. And so they're trying to figure out what went wrong, and then they realize that she's been there the whole fucking time because they have images of her on the board. So the whole thing just gets shut down. The society effectively kind of disbands at this point, and we're left at the end and the last entry where it's the warning where the society has either gone into hiding or its members are kind of just disappearing, either from the princess or just becoming hermits. And this is like kind of his last thing, and he's leaving this as kind of a sign of mercy, he says, because he realizes what she is. She's an entity that is living fiction, and she doesn't want to be forgotten because she was left alone when the game didn't get developed. So I think it leaves off with, if you see her, turn off the game.
Yep,
that's effectively it, and then. Yeah, that's the story. In that convoluted rundown. And so that's the princess. Actually, this one was also suggested to us by Charcoal Man. So thanks, Charcoal Man. And I also listened to this one on a reading by Lone Ghost on YouTube. He does a really fantastic series of readings of it.
I was actually super surprised to just hear that there are readings of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice one for some of our main, like one of the ones I read, one of the ones I listen to. But this one was definitely really well done, like well produced and stuff. So yeah, Leviathan, what did you think of the princess?
Well, I'm glad I had the obligation and I did read through it all because I actually genuinely enjoyed it. I definitely appreciate the fact that, it was broken up into posts because without those natural breaks,
yeah, that's another
I would have really had to pee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you think about this, like these posts were done like over months at a time.
Well,
so
over years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, like so it would have been interesting to be there when this was being posted like once every couple of months. Or a year in advance, or so.
I get sick and tired of waiting. I'm the kind of guy who likes to binge watch an entire season of a TV show in like 2 days.
I'm just saying, like, this one was really interesting for that because, I mean, while there are people that like would rather just read the whole thing all in one shot.
I like it the way I got it. When it's existed for a couple of years and the whole thing's right there.
Yeah. I just think, it would have been like cool to have that cliffhanger. It's like, you son of a bitch, when's the next one? Like, it leaves you coming back. To some people, anyway. Like, I probably would have waited and just been like, or had some kind of like update or something. Like, a couple of people in the comments apparently had Twitter updates or had the Twitter subscription to the blog. But yeah, no, I'm glad it didn't go. Like, I mean, I didn't even know when I started reading it. Like, I handed it to you, and I was like, this one, like, this seems pretty magical. I think we can do this week. Hand it to you, and then I started reading. I was like, fuck, Leviathan is gonna crucify me. And then I kept reading. It's like, oh, thank God, it's not just Ocarina of Time. Like, Ocarina of Time's it's like the main focus, but this concept it spans multiple games.
I didn't have to play the damn Zelda game to know what the hell was going on. I mean, it would have helped.
Yeah.
It would have helped but I didn't need it.
Yeah, like
I wasn't lost. The little bits of what little information you need to be given are given to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have some sort of in-depth, fanatical knowledge of the game. You can just,
the game
like me, you can just not know anything about the game. In fact, I don't think I've played most of the games.
Yeah, no, neither.
That they talked about here.
I don't.
And I wasn't lost. I mean, the closest I got was the Pokemon game. I know the general gist of a Pokemon game. I've never played one.
But he didn't go into detail about it. Like, he just said, oh, there's this tile that was you couldn't get past, and then it kind of activated like a trainer that would come to you in battle.
And I can, I can see that going on.
Yeah.
Just because, I do have some information about Pokemon games, so...
Yeah, no, that's the other thing I liked about this, is that the games weren't the focal point in this. It was just the concept of this thing spanning across different games. So we got, like, little descriptions about the games, but they weren't important. So they were just there for, like he was essentially just name-dropping certain games.
Yeah, and that, didn't hinder it, at least.
Yeah.
Like it did with Ben Drowned for me.
Yeah, because Ben Drowned, that was more focused on the game itself, so... on that experience in the game, whereas this one was a collection of different experiences from multiple games.
And on the flip side, we hear a lot about this, Hero and Princess game, and I kind of want to play that game.
Yeah, like,
just saying.
No, I was kind of with you. I was like, huh. And I actually did.
That's ambitious. I would like to play that game. I mean, I agree that title should only be a working title, but now that I've read this, it could be the final title.
Yeah. One day, I'm sure a fan of this series may actually come up with that, but as they so often do.
Yeah, just like they one day made Duke Nukem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Abandoned by Disney? Somebody's made a video game of that, using the Five Nights at Freddy's engine. So, I mean, yeah, that stuff happens nowadays. But, anyway. I just really liked I remember, starting to read it, I'm not gonna lie, I got really kind of giddy about this game, about this story for the nostalgia value, because of I think that's what I get for games, or for gaming creepypastas. Even if I haven't really played them, I can kind of get that emotional response for reading them. And maybe it's just something to do with, nostalgia or childhood memories and stuff, but, I really did enjoy it for that.
I actually want to see the princess start being, an Easter egg and other random games just to
fuck with people?
Just to fuck with people, yeah. I think that would be absolutely hilarious, next time I'm playing a AAA game, I'm just like...
Yeah. What the hell? You're playing Call of Duty and there's just this, old princess figure just in the background. It's like the teddies. The teddy bears. That would you gotta that idea, the idea itself is actually kind of creepy if you think about it. As a gamer, you're playing a game, no matter what the game is, it's the same fucking character that just keeps popping up.
Exactly.
And she starts corrupting your game because of it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want. That's the
horror
horror
part
right there,
because, for a gamer.
For me, because I mean, don't fuck with my video game princess.
Did you actually? It was funny because somebody actually commented on the last entry. That they saw the princess in Saints Row 4. And I read that, I was like, oh god, that's horrifying. It's no! Because we both had, issues with that game just crashing on us. So, but, yeah. I liked, that is, that was the good, cool part about this game, was this story, is that, the princess.
No one is safe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no gamer is safe.
Some people are safe.
Just never read it. Never play
people who are book readers and whatnot.
Yeah. And I like how we never get to we see the end result of when she kills somebody, but we never actually see how she kills you.
Yeah,
it's always assumed. It's just the stream went down, so they didn't get to see. They only heard the guy getting killed.
Exactly. That was a brilliant move, because whatever they showed, whatever they could have come up with and described and shown
would never have been.
It wouldn't have been as scary as nothing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been as intimidating as
just finding the body that next to
nothing.
it.
Exactly.
And seeing, like, what had happened to it. And, like, especially when, like with Adam, like, when he's bludgeoned to death, but he wasn't bludgeoned in the head, so that it kept him alive as long as he could while he was being hit. And then, like, the knife was there, but, like, there was no DNA except for Adam's, and the blade was dulled and bent as if it had been hitting something hard repeatedly. I was like, that was, like, really creepy, because it's like, what the is it? Like,
exactly.
it's like he was being attacked by his TV or something.
You want to know, but you're not getting any information. That's
like we don't even know if she like just pops up out of the TV, like just appears behind you and starts attacking you, or if she like melds out of the TV like the freaking Ring Girl,
or if it's just nothing.
Yeah, or if it's just you suddenly are just beaten up to like a bloody pulp because you've been like
Like, I mean, that's what I like about it, because whatever possibility, because there really are only so many possibilities, as well, at least reasonable possibilities. Yeah. I mean, for all you know, it's a fucking rock monster that materialized, but
yeah,
that one's not very plausible with the information we're given.
Yeah, because like they're not. Yeah.
So with the handful of things, whichever one freaks you out the most
is the one you're linking
is
to.
the one you see every time.
Yeah.
There's a death scene, and I like that. It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I always love to see my monsters. Like
we do get to see the monster. We just don't get to see how they kill, and that or it leaves us to think of how they kill the person.
No. We get to see a glitch in a game.
Right. Yeah.
We don't get to see a monster. The monster is, for all we know, something different.
Yeah.
And it's clearly a hell of a lot more violent.
Yeah.
But like, so we don't get to see it. We get to see whatever else.
Yeah.
And. Like I say, I love to see my monsters, but this time I was very okay with not seeing the monster, with, not giving a definitive answer as to what is happening to these victims.
Yeah.
And that pleased.
Yeah. And writing-wise, it was pretty well done, I think. I didn't notice any errors, like a whole lot of errors in grammar or spelling, so...
There's a handful of grammatical errors, but for something that's on the internet, you kind of gotta be lenient.
Yeah.
I mean,
we haven't been in times, but those ones have been, like, drastically bad.
Yeah, those ones have been drastically bad, and they've been, like, when it's horribly written, and then it's...
Horribly.
The mechanics of the writing, the grammar, the spelling are also horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna bitch about both.
Yeah.
That's just because that's who I am. But this time, this has happened before, the story itself is fine. I like the story. I enjoyed the whole thing. And, the troll in me wants to say, well, yeah, but there's that handful of spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. But
when the story's done well,
they're there, I get past them, and I'm hungry for the rest of the information in the story.
Yeah. Like the game, he definitely, or he or she
and
definitely.
And there are some points where, they're like, okay, this is basically just copy and pasted, so,
excuse the grammar. Yeah, that was
genius. And that's not where they are.
That's funny.
Yeah. Because in those sections, I switched off my editor mode. So I wasn't looking for those silly little mistakes.
Yeah. Nice.
But, yeah, like I say, there are some, but was it distracting? No.
No.
A lot of people would just, read past them and not even notice them.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually did that a couple of times and reread it, and I was like, oh, okay, there we are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember, so I was reading this, a day ago, and I was, actually trying to think of things that I didn't like about it. And there's, for me anyway, I don't really, there wasn't a whole lot I could criticize about it. So, there, maybe some of the things that were too long, but otherwise, but that's really not a bad thing. So, for this pasta, because it's cut up into nice pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it was long, but it's got natural breaks.
Yeah.
So, if you want to stop reading and take a nap, you can. I literally did that.
Yeah.
woke up and continued on. That's just how my day was yesterday, where, you know what, I needed a nap, and oftentimes if I need a nap and then I'm reading, I'm gonna get that nap.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the overall length, it's long, but there's nothing stopping you from taking a break between posts other than the fact that you do want to keep reading.
So, I mean, do you see anything, any issues with the story? We have been kind of hailing the story. So, is there anything on the flip side of it?
A lot of it, okay, it's hard for me to say this, because a lot of it was unnecessary. In fact, I could have done without the either the Adam and Brian story or anecdote.
Yeah, they
or
honestly
the
could have
added anecdote.
Yeah, that one seemed like it was a little unnecessary. It was it was a nice flavor, but
it was seasoning, but there is such thing as over seasoning.
And actually, it would have been really much more. I think it might have been more creepy if we didn't even have the description of Adam and Brian. If he had just left it on, because at the end of when we find out what happened to Adam and Brian, we hear it first from the forum's point of view, where they wait, they were gonna check in at 6:00, and then the entire forum waits till 6:00 to hear for an update. No update. 7:00, no update. 8:00, no update. They wait till 12, and there's still nothing. They wait an entire week, and then Brian finally pops on, and somebody puts in a thread. It's like, Brian, where have you been? What's going on? Blah blah. And then Brian leaves it pretty much on a single freaking note, where it's like, Adam is dead, the princess is evil. If you see her in the game, turn off the game, and then leaves. If that had been the end of that story, holy shit.
That would have been an acceptable ending.
To that part of the story,
not for the whole story, but just for that little anecdote, because that one was also one of the longer posts. Yeah, well, I think it went.
People reading this probably would have been screaming "What the fuck happened?" if he hadn't have done the next two scenes.
That just would have mean that they cared.
Yeah,
enough to want to know, and they didn't want to speculate, but they had to speculate. And, oh my god!
And another
and for a story to get people that riled up, that's a good thing.
Yeah, so here's another thing I was and then the little sister thing was creepy just because it's effectively the poltergeist kind of plot, or it's a plot device similar to it's a similar thing to the poltergeist movie where the little girl is seeing this entity, but nobody believes her, and then
it actually felt like its own CreepyPasta.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
I mean, it was connected, so I mean, it worked, but it was just
connected, but
it was kind of unnecessary for the warning,
I didn't really care about that one. It had nothing to do with the little girl dying. That didn't even faze me. Yeah, because realistically, I was just happy to be done with that part.
Exactly. Oh, and then there's one other thing. Where was it? So when I was first reading this, and we were learning about the princess, and we had no context to what she was, aside from a glitch in a game that kills people. You die in the game, you die in real life, kind of. That's kind of what first went through my head. And then I was like, well, what the fuck is this thing? Is this some kind of demon, or is it some kind of ghost in the machine kind of thing? And so my mind was just going with possibilities of what the horror or what the entity was. But then they gave us they gave us a conclusion to what it was technically, with the hero and princess, and then his comment at the end of the story with it's living fiction. It was an entity it was a tulpa essentially. Somebody got super enthusiastic about building these details about this character, and then to the point where the character actually became a living thing. And I don't know, when I first finished reading that, I was like, I'm not sure if I like that or not. I kind of would have liked to keep guessing. Kind of like how we had with Ben Drowned. We never really truly knew what was going on with what the entity was in Ben Drowned. We just knew that it was something supernatural. Whereas this one, the thing, we had all these details about how it kills people and, what it does in games and stuff, and how and its abilities in games. But we didn't, at least until we got that backstory, that origin story, we didn't know what it was. And I think that was better than knowing what it was.
I actually did know what it was before that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I pieced it together. The hints were there, with the fact that she was unfinished. Yeah. It's okay, so she's an unused character. And then she's a
Yeah, no,
half-finished character, and then
Yeah, I
oh,
guess
she
that was
appears
the-
in she appears in other games. I was like, okay, she's probably from some game that never got finished.
Okay, yeah. See, I
Yeah.
don't know if I think my mind was going too far with like the weird entity, like supernatural entity thing. Then because I like didn't get that until like I must have just skimmed
Until
past
they
that.
spoon fed you it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was there, and honestly, I liked being right because I always like being right.
Yeah.
And I mean, luckily I'm me, so I'm often very happy.
of course, Dr. Lepathan.
But yeah, like the hints were there for that. I don't know if that was necessarily always going to be the case from the moment the post started.
Yeah, but he started putting in some clues and hints.
That's where I went, and then when I
Yeah,
was
I mean, it does make sense.
gratified by, being told I'm right, I was like, oh, okay. For me, because I was already, suspecting that, it was...
Nice validation.
Well, it wasn't hard to accept, because I was already thinking that.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with it.
All right. Yeah, no, and like honestly, like after I started thinking on it, it's like it was a cool idea because I do like also that end of it where it's a character who has become both aware of itself but is a forgotten entity, so it's trying to make itself known again, like it wants to be known.
Yeah,
and so violence is the only way.
That's actually one thing that the story with the little girls does add to it.
Yes,
because
yeah, you're right.
This is where I am when I'm not with you. And it's the dream the little girl had.
Yeah, that creepy, half world,
unfinished village kingdom thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was.
Oh, okay. She's from an unfinished game.
Yeah, that's where I started thinking it. Like, I think that's where I started actually getting the hint. Then, because think on it. Yeah, that's what I was kind of going to. And then we were just
up until then. I had assumed she was an unfinished character. And then at that point, I was like, oh, okay, it's an unfinished world. Okay, so it's an unfinished game.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. My mind just goes to wander goes right to the Lovecraftian and Eldritch when I start reading these kind of stories.
It is Lovecraftian.
Oh, no, it is.
Because why does she persist?
Exactly, yeah. That was the other thing about it was that for the most part, like, she's inscrutable. Like, you don't know her motives or anything like that. But she's just doing this stuff. And that's why I liked... Actually, that's one of the reasons I liked about the Princess Society is essentially... This is very similar... when I read this, to me, this is very similar to Ben Drowned, except it's Ben Drowned without the Majora's Mask shit, with just, like, the entity stuff. And it's essentially that with a support group, if you think about it. Or like a watch, like some kind of, like, organization that is band together because of the entity. Because the entity is now, like, widespread.
Yeah.
Or is infecting more than just like the computer programs it was doing in Ben Drowned and the Majora's Mask cartridge. It's doing more than that.
And with the internet, these people, as scattered as they are
all connected,
are able to find each other too.
Yeah, like 9 years later, the guy's contacted because they found his story online. Like that's pretty That's pretty. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. Like, they found the guy's story, and then they hunted him down, essentially, or they tracked him down to let him know that he actually saw what he saw.
You were not alone.
Yeah.
It's okay to believe.
Yeah.
But turn off the game!
Yeah. Also, I do find it very interesting that as I was recently collecting all my, reorganizing all my Nintendo games and stuff, and then I read this, and I looked over, and it's like... I do have Zelda right there on my GameCube. I just thought it was hilarious that as I the time I decided to read this story, I happened to be doing something related to what's going on in the story. But anyway, I think we've gone on quite a while with this. I would recommend this game, this story, honestly. It's a cool little gaming creepypasta to me, and I think that people would enjoy this if they were at least gamers, or even not. Like, I mean, it'd be enjoyable, like, if you just like creepypastas and have some inkling for games.
Honestly, I don't even know if that's completely necessary, because at the core, it's essentially a ghost story.
Yeah,
and
it's a ghost story with
everyone loves a good ghost story.
Yeah,
and if you don't, well, then you're in a minority, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah,
I've got to recommend it. Just in part because of the format it's delivered with, the individual posts.
yeah.
Because
I mean, it was very similar. Like also, 1999, I think, did that too with a blog. And there are other ones that have done this, but this one was a lot more manageable.
but I read it in one.
Yeah,
Like
I said,
scrolling down, and it was just.
This one's at least entries that are manageable. Like they're small number.
I
of small
read
paragraphs.
it when I read 1999. I scrolled down one single page, whereas with this, each entry, I got to load a new page.
Yeah,
and that one difference just makes it so much easier to
find where you're at, or leave off and go do something and come back.
To stop and go away. Also, each entry was it ended, and then another entry
kind of kicked in.
It didn't pick up where the last one left off.
It just went on. It finished.
Each entry told its part.
Yeah,
and then that part was over.
Yeah,
it might be referenced later on, but for all intents and purposes, that one part's over. So
there was no moving back. It was actually, and even some stories would
it's like watching episodes of a movie, episodes of a TV show, as opposed to half of a movie and then going back into it.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. In fact, some of the earlier entries mention things that are going to be talked on later, and not the other way around. Where somebody goes, "Oh well, remember if you recall, I said this." It's it actually says "Oh well, Mr. Carver, this is not Mr. Carver's daughter as far as we can tell." And then he's like, "I'll get to Mr. Carver in a later entry," and I was like, "Okay, that's really cool."
Yeah, that it also gave the impression, whether that impression was an illusion or not, that the writer knew what they were doing with this from the get-go. They knew
and
all of the steps they were going to take and where they were going to have those steps in the narrative.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you're given that, like I said, when you're given that...
He even mentions that in the opening, he's going to go through this. But...
the fact that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You just feel more confident letting them take you for that ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like going on safari.
Unless I'm full of shit.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, no. Anyway. Can't recommend it enough. This one's pretty good. I'm sure we're going to have some karma just backlash us in the next couple of weeks. Anything else to say about the Princess Society and the princess? Do you think it could keep going, or do you think this?
No, it's over. It's over.
It's been about
doesn't need a sequel.
Yeah,
it's over. It's done.
I definitely felt closure when it was finished. So
yeah,
and it was just a good end to the story. I'm sure somebody somewhere sometime will create some kind of sequel spin-off
if they haven't
or something
already.
Yeah, but for the blog itself, this was a very good end, or very good complete creepypasta.
Yeah.
So, again, just hammering in what we've been saying for the last couple of minutes. I guess that's it. Like I said at the very beginning, you can check this blog out at ifyouseeherturnoffthegame.blogspot.ca. You can also check out a fantastic reading of it by Lone Ghost on YouTube. The part actually where they mentioned about the portal game encounter, and the guy turns off the game and he hears the voice in his headphones when he's running back onto the form that tells his tale. The guy actually, Lone Ghost actually puts in the audio clip of "I see you" from the turret, which gave me a chill down my spine when it popped on, because I wasn't expecting a different voice.
Yeah, but our listeners are well aware of the fact that you're a little bitch.
God damn it. Anyway, so if you would like to send us some comments, some reviews, we are on. This will be on YouTube. This will be on iTunes. So send us comments in this comment section below, or wherever this gets posted. Send us a review on iTunes. That would be awesome. You can also send us messages on Twitter at ReviewCultist or at Dr. Leviathan. And you can send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also send us other suggestions for creepypastas on the show. So far, they've been really good. This 2015. So, hey, you could be the first one to break the karma, or to break the good fortune. So until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And as always, I've been Dr. Leviathan.
And until next time, remember, if you see her, turn off the podcast.
Wait, what?